Hey everyone, Internet PCS book reader here. Today I want to talk about The Five Victims of Jack the Ripper by Hallie Rubenhold. The book sets the stage with its opening, a tale of two cities, where in one side we have the royal, Queen Victoria and all her majesty, and the luxuries that they offer to guests to other countries' royals. Meanwhile, in the other side, we have the people that would have to find drinking water in the city fountain. At the time, Queen Victoria was known throughout the world with her Golden Jubilee that celebrated her 20s. Meanwhile, in Trafalgar Square, the masses was gathering to protest against imprisonment without trial, and the government responded with violence that will be known as Bloody Sunday. Victoria will be more known as the name of the century where she reigns, the Victorian era, while at the same era, another person who is in the protest named Mary Ann or Polly Nichols will be mostly forgotten. People know more about her unidentified killer, Jack the Ripper. Before we go further, I want to preface that the book has a lot of heavy topic in it. It is after all talking about murder case from the already notoriously gruesome Victorian era, and we're diving deep into the lives of people from the lowest economic class there. So content warning for all the shitty things that can happen in life, I guess. It's the 18th century, an era where women are not to have a job and able to make a living. Polly was born and lived in a place people nicknamed Gunpowder Alley along with her father, mother, older brother, and younger brother. A family of 5 in a house that the book described really aptly on how small it is. Parents, children, siblings, and extended family dress, was, engaged in sex, and if there were no adjacent convenience, defecated in front of one another. As one family member prepared a meal, a sick child with raging fever might be vomiting into a chamber pot beside them, while a parent or sibling stood by half naked, changing their clothes. Husband and wife met future children while lying beside present one. Little about the human condition in its most basic form could be concealed. So in a house like that, and at a time where knowledge of disease is, well, Victorian era, her mother got tuberculosis and she passed away, and the eldest son of the household soon followed her due to contagion. Because of this, Polly had to grow up quicker since she's now the eldest child and the only woman of the family. When Polly got married and have kids, there are more mouths to feed, so the whole family, including his father, all moved to a cheaper rent. Then the younger brother got married, so there's less income and more outcome for the whole family. The Peabody at the time tried to experiment with housing, albeit very social experiment-like at the time, but thanks to it, Polly and her husband can move home, and for the first time ever, Polly is not living under the same house as her father. There is hope for her, which quickly got smashed. The husband away from her father grew more nasty at home and started having an affair with a neighbor outside of home, which at that time is not even ground for public shaming, let alone a divorce. The husband has made his choice, so now Polly made her choice. She eventually escaped to her father's house. And then, as if she's not done on her luck enough from the life that life has given her, at home her only brother caught an explosion from a paraffin or kerosene lamp. When he went to turn it off, it burns him and he died soon after. This is what drove her to the workhouse, the complex where the victims of Jack the Ripper live. And that is how the book is written. It paints us the details of these people's life before it is taken away from them. The father of Annie, the second child, took his own life because he can't handle being a valet, some kind of living butler in the UK that's often romanticized in TV, but living in another person's home under their beck and call 24/7 got to him and he took his own life. And that's the condition she was born at. The third victim, Elizabeth, was a maid from Sweden that got pregnant out of her will and got syphilis out of her will. And since it's the 18th century, she was shamed because of it. So she moved to London and became a con artist for a while. The fourth victim, Kate, was the youngest of 7 siblings. Her father was a labor worker that was used as an example by the industry he works with. They make do for a while, but disease soon catch up to both the mother and the father of Kate's family, and their family never really recovered from this despite their attempt. Not to mention later in her life, Kate fell in love with a bad man. And lastly, Mary Jane, who we know less compared to the other victims since she's basically living her life like someone from a witness protection program because she ran away from sex trafficker. These are mostly just me grossly oversimplifying and summarizing a very small part of these people's life, especially Annie, Elizabeth, Catherine, and Mary Jane. The book has so much more about the life they had, their friends, families, how life led them to the Victorian workhouse, one of the most notorious British institutions at that time, and the people that they left behind after their murders. And the detail in the books are amazing. I cannot even begin to imagine the amount of work this took. It went through history in fine-tooth comb. The laws, the news, the living condition of the city, parish register, sanatorium logbooks, union workhouse register, cases and interview from police documents, and even letters sent by the 5 victims and their friends and families. It is thanks to all this attention to detail that the book managed to give us a glimpse of what life is back then on Victorian era, especially for the 5 figures that become the title of the book. Honestly, reading it feels like I'm uncovering lost media from how vivid this story is. But at the same time, a little bit of the strength can also be its weakness. Because of its detail, I think the book works better as a mini documentary if someone ever made it. In book form, since you can just continue to read as long as your concentration is still solid, the detail for the 5 can feel like sometimes they blend together. What it did best, I think, besides telling the personal life of the 5, the book also managed to remove a lot of the mystique behind the Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper news, even at that time, it was highly exaggerated to get more readers. Most of the women he killed is not even a prostitute, unlike what the news are saying. Not that what he did was better if they are prostitute, it just shows how a lot of his deeds are unchecked by the news. The first and second victim, Polly and Annie, were most likely not prostitutes. They're just homeless. In fact, only 2 of the 5 victims are actual prostitutes. The 3 other victims mostly made a living through sewing, crocheting, or doing laundry for people with better living conditions, and it all mostly just so they can rent a place to get a bed and a roof over their head for at least 3 days out of 1 week. Annie, the second victim, did not even live at the place of the murders. She only came there occasionally, accompanying a friend who lived there. She was even deadly ill with tuberculosis, and she had gotten sicker and weaker for months leading to her murder. Then the places the murders are happening are in places that a lot of people avoid since it's a dirty place where street plants are not even well taken care of, so once night comes you can barely see anything anyway. These are the people and the place that Jack the Ripper killed. People who have fallen due to hard times, who most of the week either have to find abandoned seat to sleep during winter or curl up in front of someone's door to get some warmth while dreaming for a better life. People who are much weaker than Jack from malnutrition and lack of rest. I mean, one of them was already on her deathbed, and another one of them is sleeping on her bed when she was killed. What Jack the Ripper is a loser with a cool and edgy name that the media exaggerated as this mysterious and captivating figure. I think we have more awareness now that how the media represent news have a tendency to be slightly manipulative to get views, although a lot of people also took the skepticism a bit too far. You often see this on the internet when people are ranting about how modern journalism is blah 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 blah. And no, it's not a new thing that makes our generation more special compared to older generation. A lot of journalism has always been a few rare hard-hitting hits, but a lot of them are the kind of sensationalism covering that Jack the Ripper have. Even in the case of Jack the Ripper, news article tends to not make sense when you know the context surrounding the case. A lot of them are often embellished. If something can be taken out of context to make the story pop more than the other news outlet, they will do so. Assumptions and opinions are presented as fact, and details that can shed a different light to the story they delivered is also omitted. So a couple of the victims are prostitutes becoming all of 5 victims are prostitutes. Nowadays, the naming convention of this serial killer and how anti-facts becoming more mainstream are just some of the cause of this journalistic problem. It's just so much more easier to see now since you can see the news without having to subscribe to the newspaper. Now you just have to get addicted to your phone. I know that it's not all the fault of media convention, by the way. Part of it is due to our fascination of mystery and the unknown, but a big part of it is how much media clickbait has always been a big part of our content creation way before YouTube or the internet is a thing. Like giving these murderers a really edgy nicknames. Which, by the way, can we stop giving these murderers cool and edgy names that fit right into cartoon for angsty teenager, please? The Zodiac Killer, Death Angel, etc. Somehow we gave these murderers names that would be remembered by history, and they did become remembered more by their name as a result. You can always find Jack the Ripper on top of lists about serial killer, or at least give them less cool and edgy name. Instead of Jack the Ripper, how about 18th century British loser or Victorian era incel? Maybe it'll help history to not remember this loser fondly while those that they killed are placed into one folder named victims, sometimes even just victim without the plural. But here's a suggestion. Why not make this psychopath into a statistic instead of unique individual, and instead make their victims more of individuals rather than just statistic, just like what this book did. I give this book a 4.5. What do you think? Are you gonna read it? Did I miss anything? Leave your thoughts in the comment below and subscribe to the channel. That's about it.